Okay, we are live.
Okay,
We are
lovely.
live. Um, okay, so we had this discussion a few months ago, a month ago, I think.
Uh-huh.
We spoke about genetics. We spoke about genetic related issues. Since that time, we have gotten a lot of feedback from farmers on the issue of pig farming, and I think
Yeah.
this discussion is long overdue. Breaking even in pig farming. Um,
Uh-huh.
we have a lot of people who are coming into the business, a lot of people who are already in the business, and they have the challenge of, um, money. At what point in time do they actually start making money from pig farming? We also have people who have been in the business and they are unfortunately not really making money from pig farming. In several cases, we also have issues of farmers who are recycling their capital and profit without any tangible thing to show for. So, this discussion is important so we can actually get to have this understanding of what constitutes right practices to for one to start making money from pig farming. So,
Uh-huh.
I'll allow you to introduce yourself again, um, and then we can actually proceed to the main conversation.
Yes, I introduced myself again to the viewers who are streaming us live on Facebook. I'm the Magic Farmer from Uganda, and I'm into piggery farming, and this is my business and this is my passion. So what I'm doing is a business. What I'm doing is a passion, and uh, and I hope to help other farmers at least, so that at least they can try to have profitability out of the business, so that at least we can try to see that we make ends meet. Our discussion
Okay,
tonight about
so
making even in piggery farming, and we hope at least by the end of the discussion, at least the new people who would have joined our stream at least would have learned something new, and even those ones who have been following us again would have added some knowledge to whatsoever they have. Thank you.
okay, yeah, thank you for joining us. It's good to have you on this discussion. We learned a lot the last time, and we'll just quickly go into the conversation. Breaking even in pig farming. Um, so pig farming essentially is majorly about three things. It's about genetics, it's about management, it's about nutrition. I like us to cover the management aspect. Uh, management in terms of bringing in those variables, bringing in the variables of genetics, and bringing in the
Mhm.
variables of nutrition, and actually making it work. So let's have a little bit of insight about what it takes to really manage a pig farm and get the right results.
Uh, I want to advise the farmers that the first thing that it takes for someone to manage a pig farm is first and foremost stocking your head. You know, if you stock your head, uh, it becomes very easy for someone to manage bigger farm. You see, sometimes we get so excited in a way that we always just want to join piggery just because some people have gotten some money and they believe yes, or in a business, and we believe yes, someone just comes out of the blue to start the business. But what I've realized in my experience with this kind of business or with any other business, you need to first understand the business well. That's the most important thing. If you understand the business well, it becomes very easy for you to know how you. It becomes very easy for you to know how you are going to handle all the expenses. It becomes very easy for you to manage the business well. I'll give examples as we continue in our discussions, and people will see how many mistakes that we make. But I'll always inform our farmers or our people who are interested into piggery management that at least they are very lucky that at this time they have information at their disposal. That's the most important thing. Not like we who started piggery farming out. do, and we were using every kind of feed to give the animals. But at this right now, people have the knowledge at their disposal. People have the information at their disposal. So, and people have the expertise at least on the media, the different platforms. So, if you collect that kind of information and you try to merge it, at the end of the day, you can reach to an advice which is very very efficient for someone to start the business. So that's what I always remind people. So whoever first stocks the head, it becomes very easy for you to at least to stock your farm. It's not about money. No, it's really not about money. It's first about information. If you have the information well, then it becomes very easy for you as a farmer to go all out and then you stock your farm. So the most important thing to start a business, one, the bigger business, it is the knowledge. Under the
Yeah, no,
knowledge, we are going to have these different phases of the knowledge. If you say want to start a profitable piggery business, what do you want to specify in? Because you see, piggery has branches. We have different branches in piggery. You know, it all depends on the expertise. You cannot do everything, but what do you want to do exactly in piggery? There are people who come into piggery and their work is to set up what you call a boar stand. Their work is to sell semen. A person's work is like, for me, my role in piggery, I want to start a boar stand. I want to be selling semen to the farm. Maintaining a boar stand is not that easy. Another one can say, no, my work is to fatten. I produce to fatten. I win to fatten. For me, my role is to do fattening. Another one can say, no, my role is to do breeding. So it's very hard for someone who has come out to make it at a business to do all the three. It is really hard. However, the first one, however, with fattening and breeding, yes, it may look easy and it may seem the same, but it's really not the same. When you
okay.
go,
I just hold on a second. Hold on a second. So that we can actually get a sense of these areas which you have said in the past minutes. To start a pig farm,
yes,
to make profit, to start a pig farm for the purpose of making profit, because I do realize that there are so many people who probably just maybe have they're enthusiastic about livestock farming and may not really approach it pig farming as a business. It
mm-hmm,
happens. There are so many instances like that. So to start the pig farming for profit, the farmer must first of all get as much knowledge as he can,
mm-hmm,
and I actually want to contribute to this because I feel that there has to be some kind of a structured approach in
mm-hmm,
how you gain knowledge about pig farming. Relying
mm-hmm,
exclusively on random discussions on Facebook, social media may not give you the kind of knowledge you want to get. Um, you need to have a structured approach. You need to have maybe someone who has been in the business. You need to read a lot on Google. You need to visit farms to actually have a
mm-hmm,
feel of what pig farming is. But something you said, which I would want you to expatiate on, is the issue of pig farming operations. Because you mentioned Boer's thought when you were talking about pig farming operations, and I think a lot of farmers feel that pig farming principally just ends with keeping animals and just producing them, finishers, producing them for market. There appears to be a lot of opportunities within the pig farming value chain, and I've always said this. It doesn't just mean that you have to just produce finishers. You can actually have different pig farm operations. And you were about listing out this pig farming operations. You mentioned I think if I got you right, farrow to win,
yes,
which is I think producing piglets for other farmers to fatten. Can you
mm,
go on?
farrow to finisher, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, you're talking
Okay,
about the
farrow to
different phases
finish.
of the production. Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Farrow,
different business operations.
farrow to win,
Okay, so
yes,
you have the farrow to win, you
yes,
have the farrow to finish,
Yes.
I think you have there should be something we have maybe the wing to finish. That is, you buy feeder pigs from other
Yes.
farms and then you finish them off.
Yes.
So these are basically three business operation line, and
Yes.
then maybe after this you can now talk about setting up bus stops, where the farmer principally engages in um, semen collection and preservation and processing stocks, sale of semen to other
Mhm.
farms who want to maybe upgrade. And yeah, so these are some of the business opportunities in pig farming. But from your perspective, which would you recommend for somebody who is just interested in starting the business?
I would recommend. I would recommend someone to do what you call a furrow to finish.
Okay, the
You
farrow to
see,
finish model.
furrow to finish. Why? Um, with experience, not only experience with research, I've realized people who are doing winning to finish, or I mean, people who are doing the fattening business, that is winning to fatten.
Okay.
You realize they do not break even. Why? You see, in our countries here, we are talking like this. Genetics is still expensive. Genetics is still expensive. Why? Because we are the production is less. The demand is high and the production is less. What do I mean by the production? I'm looking at people who have grandparents who can be able to do the F1s. I'm looking at people with F1s who can be able to do F2s. You might realize that here in Africa, we are still excited about the genetics and people are still selling them expensively. You realize that now, if a person goes ahead and does what you call win to fatten, you are going to realize that the person does not break even. Even to the when you look at the amount of money he is going to purchase a piglet. Oh yes, because by that time it's still a piglet. When you look at the amount of money he's going to purchase a piglet, and then the amount of money inject while he's uh, while he's fattening it, uh, it doesn't break even. No any breaking even. But a person who has done furrow to finish is breaking even because in the long run, when you look at the cost of producing one piglet, the cost of producing one piglet, it's very low. So this person, he is going to break even because he is not. There is no exorbitant kind of amount he is using to purchase. Just imagine buying a piglet of 8 weeks, say 12 weeks, and they tell you that that piglet is going for $300. Or the piglet is
Yeah,
going for
yeah,
the piglet is going for $250. You know when
yeah.
you know
I think yeah.
we
I wanted to put
okay,
this in.
okay,
I wanted to put this in context. I wanted to put this in context. Because um, there are so many people who make this mistake that you just highlighted when they want to start the pig farming business.
yeah,
They would they would want to buy winners and then fatten them for slaughter. And it's just obvious that whatever winner you are buying for slaughter purpose would definitely be of very poor genetics, because nobody would sell an exotic animal for you at the winner stage at the price where you can fatten these animals for slaughter. So
true.
yes, that is true. You might end up buying an animal very poor, spent genetics, and then you put a lot of money in fattening this animal. It doesn't make a lot. It doesn't make any economic sense. Just like you have pointed out, it would be better for farmers to have a little bit of restraint and patience, keep the animals um, till the animals start producing piglets. It will be cheaper for them to produce their own exotic piglets in the farm, and
Yes,
that's the direction you're talking,
exactly.
where you're heading
That's
to.
what I'm moving to. So that's what I'm trying to say that for someone to break even right now as a starter, like as a starter farmer, I'd recommend a farmer to purchase a breeding guild,
Okay.
have it at the farm, be patient with it, serve it ample feeds, give it the necessary weight,
Okay.
is use quality cement to inseminate, then you can break even when it goes ahead and it gives birth. When it furrows, then you are good to go. I usually remind farmers that a pig is not an elephant, whereby
Yeah.
it takes two. A pig is not a goat, whereby it takes 6 months. A pig is not like a cow, where it takes 9 months. A pig is a pig, where it takes 4 months, roughly 4 months. 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 weeks, 3 days. So you realize that I think we are looking at 115 days, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So you realize that you realize that with pig farming, that is how you are supposed to be breaking even as a farmer. Very few people can factorize on boa studying, but you see, starting a boa stud is not as easy as people can think. It's an
Oh,
expensive venture. You need to
okay.
understand.
Sorry to cut you.
Yes,
We've spoken about the win to finish model, but we didn't seem to get around the farrow to win business model.
yes.
What are the specific things that we need to look out for in the farrow to win model in terms of business, the business reality of that model?
With furrow to win, it's majorly for people who are doing breeding. For someone who's doing breeding, it is very okay. Because what are we trying to talk about? We are looking at someone who is capitalizing on people who do not know the impact of purchasing a winner to take to the farm and do fattening. That is if the person is concentrating on porkers. So the person is capitalizing on that kind of ignorance to make money. You realize that with farrow to win, it's even more profitable for a farmer. Because when you look at the cost of producing one piglet and the amount of money that is going to sell that piglet, it's very low. So the person is really breaking even times 100 times. So what am I trying to say? For a person who is in farrow to win, you have to be extremely vigilant about your production units. Um, if you are doing pokers, no. But if you are doing breeders, yes. What do I mean by breeders? That is, these are piglets which are being produced using maternal semen. Because right now, people are looking for genetics. People are looking for superior genetics. And the only way you can break even is now for you, a person who is doing farrow to win, you have to be very careful of the semen you are using. And in most cases, if you want to get something out of it and you are really concentrating on breeding, you're supposed to be using majorly maternal semen, whereby you're availing the market for the farmers who are really interested in starting this business, and they know that you can be able to supply them with the breeders that they can be using at the farm to produce their porkers. So that is the only way I can try to advise the farmer to do. Or that is the only direction I can decide to tell the farmer to take if you are in farrow to win. But if you have your market on a steady basis, you realize that the person who is doing farrow to win, every after 5 months, the person has already broken even. Remember, the sow is already pregnant for 3 months, 3 weeks, and 3 days. This person may decide to do breastfeeding for 21 days. If a person does breastfeeding for 21 days, he's going to use supplementaries so that at least he can have his piglets have the necessary weight. By the time he wins them off, you realize that the cost of production of producing one winner as that farmer, it's very, very low compared to the person who's doing the work. But you see, this business cannot be done by everyone. Again, it needs a person who is an expert in this, a person who has been in this business for a while to be able at least to produce the breeders for people with the necessary weight. So those are that is what I can talk about with that farrow to win.
Okay. Okay. So knowledge of the business operation, is
Mm.
is important. When you want to start pig farming, you need to
Yes.
seek knowledge. You need to understand the business, and you need to know where you want to apply your startup funds. If you want to go into win, you want to go into finish, you want to actually go into start, go into boar start.
Yes.
Yeah, boar start. That seems to be an area where a lot of farmers are not looking at. Can you shed more light on this?
Um. Come again. Come again. I didn't get that well.
Yeah, the business opportunities in setting up a stored facility is one where a lot of farmers are not looking at. You want to throw one or two, make one or two statements about this?
With facility, with the stud facility, you see, what I can try to tell the farmers that we are looking at a business whereby someone has to be patient. We are looking at a business whereby there's some departments which are supposed to be done by experts. Starting a stud business is a very excellent business venture under the piggery sector, but maintaining the stud is the hardest thing. You see, with the stud business, you're supposed to be having the highest biosecurity measures that you can ever know. Because you're going to have thousands of farmers depending on your stud. The moment the stud is affected, you're affecting 1,000 farms. I repeat this. If you're doing the stud business, you're supposed to be having the highest biosecurity measures that ever consist. Because when you start a stud business, you're bringing a number of farmers on board. You are bringing a number of farms on board, which some farms have 2 sows or 2 goats, other farms have 10 pigs, and we are also looking at other farms which have over 400 pigs, because there are those other farms that entirely rely on artificial insemination in order to cut their costs and to always improve. So, with the stud business, you are supposed to be extra vigilant. You don't even have to be sleeping. Every time you're supposed to be always upgrading and updating your biosecurity measures. Because the moment the stud business is affected by ASF, just know you are going to affect a number of farms, either directly or indirectly. How? Because if your farm has been hit by the disease, a number of farmers are going to lose out on the opportunity of insemination. So farms are going to become on a standstill. Production is going to lower. Everything is just going to be so different for the farmers. But with the stud business, I would recommend that it will be the most profitable. The problem is people, as I told you, Victor, or as I tell our viewers, is that people are always excited about these businesses. They don't first stock their heads in order to stock their farm. They just go
Yeah.
directly to their farms. Then that is when they remember to stock their heads.
All
But with
right.
the start, Mhm.
Yeah, I just wanted to react to a comment by one of our viewer. It says here that majority of established farmers are making it difficult for the starters. Some of them sell poor, spent breeds for the starters, and the few ones who have the good breeds are sell at higher price and still ask for consultancy money after buying their products. I like to react to this. I think yes, it is true that people sell animals of unknown, unidentifiable genetics. It saturates the Nigerian market. That is correct. I also want to point out that the issue of good breeds attracting higher price. I think it's more or less a supply demand issue.
Yes,
Yeah, it's a supply demand issue. We have in the swine ecosystem in Nigeria, we have a lot of very few farms who have traceable genetics. I think I want to hinge on that word, traceable genetics. There is one thing and I keep saying this whenever I have the opportunity to do this. It's one thing for you to have a pig, um, you don't know the name, but somehow it's giving you good performance. I like calling it exotic animals. They give you good performance, maybe little size. But of course, you can't either call it a land race or a large white. We just know it gives good performance. It may have the future of any of these breeds. But then it's another thing for you to have an animal of traceable genetics, and you say, look, this animal is a pure large white or pure land race. So it's more or less a supply demand issue. I think when there is a lot of investment in bringing up or expanding our sow base, our sow population with purebred animals, definitely the price of these animals would definitely come down. But then, just like what you have said, it is important to stock the head before stocking the farm. Um, as much as possible, farmers need to learn. And with piggery, there is no end to learning. Every day is a living. A pig is a living thing. So every day we keep getting different feedback from the animal, different development, and we also need to keep up to date with what we find in other countries, just like your country. Um, I want to also touch on two things, just like as we are progressing. Um, is 12 months enough for a farmer to make money from pig farming?
12 months, that's a year. Yes,
Yeah.
it is. If if we know our target. I want to repeat this. Yes, it is enough if we know our target. You see, you see, if our target is to produce porkers, making all factors constant, this the guilt maybe it all depends on when you receive the guilt, at what age. It all depends on when you receive the guilt. So the question you have asked me is tricky, but again, it has the answer yes, and again, it has the answer no. As I'm going to state it, that it all
because
depends on
you because you said that pig farming, a farmer must exercise a lot of patience.
yes.
That's why I'm saying, because there's so many investors who want to start making a lot of money within the 12 months window. I usually feel that 12 months may not be enough for you to take your take pull take your feet off the gas and just allow the money to start coming. I feel like you need to extend your incubation period
That's why
for that.
I say what I'm trying to say, Victor, is that it all depends. It all depends on what you want to do. It all depends on the number of sows that you have or the number of sows that you're. Let me give you an example. If you're a breeder, you can break even in 12 months. If you're a breeder, you can break even in 12 months. If you're a poker, not yet. If you're a poker, not yet. But at least within 15 months, yes. If you're poker, yes, within 15 months, yes. You can start to at least to receive money which can maintain the farm, that at least can feed the farm. But with the second poker production process, that is when you can really break even. With the boer
Okay.
stud, with the people in boer stud, it is tricky. What is your clientele? That's the problem. What's your clientele? Has your team done enough to do sensitization to the people so that they know? So that is why I'm trying to say that if we are strategic enough, it is very easy within 12 months to have the production process and person
All
breaking
right.
even. Yes.
All right. All right. So I'm going to respond to this question. Um, Please, how can a starter ascertain the quality of a breed that is the F1 of Landgrass, Large White, and Duroc? Where can one find such quality in Nigeria? Yeah. I'll respond, and I'll allow you to respond to this. Um, yes. So the F1 essentially is a cross of the Landras and Large White, not the Duroc. The F1 doesn't factor in the Duroc. I think you you have to explain this maybe briefly so people can
Yeah, yeah.
understand what the F1 consists of. So when we talk about landrars or large whites, just like I said a few minutes ago, it does not consist in the phenotype, the physical appearance of the animal. You you have to get additional information before you can actually conclude that this animal is a lab as a large man. Yes, so um, additional information is required. Breed information is required. Source, and these are the kind of details we need to know. Else, we can just be content with calling it an exotic animal. I urge farmers to be really calm before we start designating breed names. Um, right now, we've seen that pedigree information is really what qualifies the breed to be what it claims to be. So I'll allow you touch on this, because farmers want to start, people want to go into big farming, and then there are all sorts of names in the market. You're going to hear by the large white, you're going to hear by the Landras, you're going to hear by Duroc, you're going to hear by Hampshire, you're going to hear by this one is Tamworth, this one is this. Some people from farmers even go ahead and discourage people from going after exotic animals and say, "Ah, look, this local one is disease resistant. eh, it's no matter the conditions the animals are being. So we have a lot of input and feedback when it comes to the choice of animals that the farmer wants to use to start the farm with. You in our last discussion, you spoke about the F1 maternal and paternal lines to a large extent. I'd like you to just maybe within 2 minutes give an insight on what should a farmer starts his farm with, stock his farm with at the inception.
I'm going to remind the farmers we should first stock the heads. Yes, good enough. The farmers asked that good question. But does the farmer know what an F1 is? Does the farmer know when you say land race, does it know what a land race is? So now, before we need to help that farmer and even other viewers that we are having online to understand this. In piggery, in piggery genetics, we have two maternal lines. We have only we have two two lines in piggery. We have the maternal line, and then we are going to have what you call the paternal line. And in piggery, we start with what we call the GGP, but we shall not go there. But we start with what we call the grandparent. And we only have two grandparents known for their maternal instincts. We are going to have, when someone talks about a large white, we are talking about a pig which is 100% large white and 100% landrace. These are called the maternal lines. They are the ones which are regarded as the maternal lines in the piggery. When you cross the two, if the 100% large white is crossed with the 100% land race, we are going to form what we call a parent stock, and that is the F1. So with the F1, we are having the 50% large white and the 50% land race. But we should put it into consideration that not every person who tells you that has a large white is a large white, and not every person who tells you that has a land race is a land race. The only thing that can prove that is what we call a pedigree certificate. We are looking at animals that have been imported from certified breeding companies. I repeat, from certified breeding companies. You realize that these animals have ear tags, which ear tags, when you scan them, can give you the information about that animal and its genetic line. So when you cross the large white, the pure large white with the pure landrace, these genetic companies brought up what we call the parent herd or the parent stock. This is 50% large white and 50% landrace. Now, that is what is considered as the F1. You realize some companies patent them with names. PIC in South Africa is going to call it Cambra. CG in France, that is Choice Genetics in France, is going to call it CG36. We are going to have a company which is going to call it LY, Another company will call it TN70. We have different breeding companies, but we are looking at those prominent ones which are certified. They are the ones that give us what we call the genetics. The advantages of genetics, now I'm helping that farmer because we need to go deep. The advantages of genetics, and when you read more about these animals, and even people who have them at the farm, we are looking at an animal which is always growing every day. We are looking at a pig which is growing every day. I repeat, we are looking at a pig which is growing every day. We are looking at a pig which has a potential to have an average daily gain of 1 kilogram. That is when all factors are constant. An average daily gain of 1 kilogram. It means like in a week, a pig has already added on 7 kilograms. We are looking at a pig which has a very good, what we call premium pork product. Leave alone those ones which have big fat and these ones which have the big fat and everything of the sort. But this is lean. It is lean meat. Like pork is pork. I usually share this on my Twitter account, and people always come through and ask me. But it is a fact. So that is what I'm trying to say. But for the person who is that guy who wants to start as a farmer, one, as I've said, I would request this farmer to start with an F1. If you see that the price of an F1 is high, go for an F2. Okay, if you also see that the F2 is very high, the maximum you can do is an F3, because at least it is not that compromised. But again, you have to know the history of the breeding, how this person has been able to cross them. That is why I'm always trying to say that always acquire these genetics from a farm which has documentation. Documentation is a crucial element in piggery farming.
Okay. I would like to bring in some. We're taking some questions on the comment section. Thank you, Abodering Farms, for the reaction. He has said here that good breeds are expensive because they have desirable characteristics and genetics that are carefully maintained and protected. It takes a whole lot of work to maintain quality lines. Thank you for the feedback. We have a question here. What is an F2? So I think if we've been following what our guest has going through on the issue of genetics, the F1 essentially is the cross between the pure line large white and the pure line Landras. That gives you the F1. The F2 essentially is also a cross between the F1 and the Duroc. Am I correct, sir?
Come again. The F2 is a what?
The F2 is a cross between the F1 and the paternal line.
Exactly. Yeah. You are very correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And then this other question. Okay, so just for emphasis, if you have an F1 confirmed that this animal is an F1, and you cross it with a Duroc,
yes.
What you get is an F2. So we have a question here. Will it be possible to have a pig of average daily gain of 1 kilo daily?
Yes.
I want you to share your experience on this.
Yes, it is very, very possible. Very, very possible. 100% very possible. 100% very possible. That's why I'm saying that having all other factors constant, it is very possible to have a peak of 1 kilogram daily. But you see, with nature, it may not be constant. It may not be constant due to factors. Sometimes it may be due to high temperatures. Sometimes it may be due to sickness. Sometimes it may be due to. But that's why I'm saying with all factors constant, in most cases, 99.9%, yes, you have that animal, you have that F1, or with good genetics. Not only the F1, it's majorly in F2s. because at that time you have already introduced what you call the paternal line. And with the paternal line, that is why you have that masculine. So you realize that the performance in the F2s is not really the same performance with the F1, because
With
with
the
the F1 we
F2s.
are dealing with maternal lines. So you realize that the rate at which it adds on weight, it is kind of low compared to the F2s when you have already introduced the paternal. With the F2, the moment you introduce a paternal line, for example, let's give an example that we cross it with the Duroc. You have already created 50% of maternal line and the 50% of the paternal line, which is the Duroc. So out of the 50% of the maternal line, we are dealing with 25% large white and 25% landrace. So that is the 50% of the maternal line. So when you introduce the paternal line, so you have already introduced the 50% of the Duroc. So when you introduce the 50% of the Duroc, what are the characteristics of a Duroc? High performance, low feed conversion rate, average daily gain, which is high. So you are introducing it now to a performing F1. So in other words, the two crosses, they're the ones which are going to have that kind of. That's why in Europe, or even in other those are serious breeding companies, for example, like in South Africa and all, the F2s are strictly meant for poker. The
Someone
F2,
asked a question. I think,
yeah,
just let me set this question
yeah.
since we are going into discussions on the F2. Can the F2 be used as breeder stock?
In countries like Nigeria, in countries like Ghana, in countries like Uganda, in countries like Rwanda, where accessibility to the parent stock is still high, I would recommend someone to go for an F2. I would recommend for
Okay.
someone to go for F2. However, how are you going to use it for breeding is most important. If you go for an F2, now let me give them the logic. If you go for an F2, you raise that F2. Don't buy very many F2s if you want to use F2 for breeding. Go for that F2. When it reaches time to conceive, use maternal semen. When you use maternal semen, the product that you would have done, that you would have gotten, is going to be an improved F2. Actually, I do not know why it's very rare for someone for someone, for us who have been in this breeding process, for someone to call it an F3. Yes, initially it is an F3, but in order to differentiate, we usually call it an improved F2. Why? Because the performance is 100% better than the F2 that you'd have gotten. What do I mean? When you use maternal semen, you have increased you have increased the maternal line automatically by 22.5%. Let me give you an example. If you use the maternal semen, for example, of large white, and it's what you have used. Remember, with the F2, you are having 25% large white, 25% landrace, and 50% the Duroc. So if you introduce the maternal line in the F2, you are going to increase the large white percentage by 22.5%. You will, sorry, not 22.5%. You are going to, yes, by 22.5%. Yes, you will reduce the paternal line and the maternal line of the landrace by again 22.5%. So you realize that the offsprings are going to be very good breeders, better than the mother. So you can use those ones to breed at the farm. That is what I can
Okay.
advise the farm. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So I think there's just like there's a whole lot to talk about
Yes.
when we get into the area of genetics.
Yes.
It's a very broad subject,
Yes.
but of course, the profitability of pig farming business is not. It's composite of a lot of factors, of which
Yes.
genetics takes a huge chunk, and then the area of nutrition takes another, the area of management takes another.
Yes.
Um, we did a discussion the other time. I would encourage our viewers to maybe go through some of our life on this Facebook group, and then you can actually see um, our discussion on genetics. But if you have any specific questions, you can ask, and then we'll try to share valuable insights on that.
Mm.
Yeah. So we are importing. We have a strategy in place to bring in semen into Nigeria, and people have been asking what what are the advantages of this? What do I? Of course, the financial outlay is high. Importing semen into the country. People are asking, do I do why do I have to bother about buying semen? What kind of results will I get from this enterprise and all of this? So I want you. I know you've actually done a lot of insemination. You inseminate. You've actually also bought semen into Uganda. So, what is your experience? Share your experience briefly on the issue of insemination, especially
Insem-
as it affects grading up of animals.
Artificial insemination is about improving. I repeat, artificial insemination is about improving. If you have exotic, as you call them, exotic breeds and genetics, the moment you use, for example, a commercial boa. Let me give an example of a 410. A 410 right now, it is my best boa. I don't know why, but according to my research and the offsprings I've seen, it is my best boa right now. L410. You are automatically creating a 50% of the pattern and a 50% of untrace genetic or the exotic breed. Trust me, you are breaking even in terms of production. The characteristics of the offsprings with the artificial insemination, they are robust. We are dealing with boas whose research is already on the go. We are dealing with boas whereby they tell you when you follow this is the output that you're supposed to be having. This is the result that you're supposed to be having. The moment you use artificial insemination, you see, people should understand that when we talk about artificial insemination, we are not meaning that every person with a boa on the farm, you go and you get semen, and then you go and put it, and you inseminate your pig, that you're going to have those results. No, we are looking at superior boas. We are looking at performance. We are looking at the genetic lines of these boas and the performance. So this is what we are talking about when you talk about artificial insemination. I'm one kind of person who is very much convinced that, but when you are strategic enough in Nigeria and then you do that buster, you are going to help a number of farmers improve their breeding herd. You know, if we start with artificial insemination, we may talk up to tomorrow morning.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
All
That's
I know,
why.
all I know that with artificial insemination, its role is only to improve. The role of AI is to improve, and give us results. That's all I can say.
Okay, thank you,
Yes.
thank you for that. I'm actually going to take some questions that we have had in the comment section. This one definitely I have to respond to this. What are the potential market channels for selling pigs or pork products in Nigeria, and how can I access those markets or establish profitable business relationships? Okay, about doing farms. So there is huge market for pigs in Nigeria. However, we have regional or areas where we have demand pressure, and we also have areas where you also have supply pressure. Um, Judging from your name, you're probably in the western part of Nigeria. Yes, there is a huge market for it in the western part of Nigeria, but also in the south part of the country, we also have an exponential demand for pigs. So we have people coming in from these areas, going way up to the north or to the west to buy these animals. Yes, so you can actually sell your pigs by live weight. What about pork products? So you can actually go into processing. But one thing I
Yeah.
always say about processing is, and I'm sure you will agree with me, um, processing is a different business altogether, right?
True.
When you are doing processing, I like you to segment it from your farm. It's
Yes.
more or less like you have a processing company. You sell your pigs to your processing company. They buy. So you actually everything has a price to it. So don't run your processing business as a direct farm operation. Let the farm be the farm, and then you can actually go into processing as a sub business of it. You can establish business relationships. We're always open to discuss. We're open to help push your brand, push your peaks. You can access markets anywhere in the country. If you have good stock, good animals, we can always connect you with where people have needs for these animals, and you make a whole lot of opportunities for yourself. We also have somebody who wants us to talk about nutrition. Um, but there's one question, one demand there. I'm not sure we'll be able to take that.
Mhm.
Feed formulation. It has always been, it has always been a personal a policy that the issue of nutrition is not something that should be gleaned on Facebook pages or Facebook groups or on social media,
I can
because
I can just add little on the nutrition.
yes, yes,
I do not
yeah,
know why nutrition is a problem in Nigeria.
mm,
And yet you have some of the companies that have these kinds of uh, uh, that have the nutrition for the pigs. If in Nigeria you have cow dice, why is it hard for you people to get the feed? What is the problem?
okay,
So
okay. Yeah.
I
So the
have not
issue
yet.
is
Mhm.
yeah, the issue is we have companies that are producing pig feeds, producing concentrates, and some of these inputs that we need to produce feed. Um, I think what farmers need to understand is the different types of providing nutrition to pigs. You have the system where you buy whole starter feed or grower feed. We have companies that are producing this, although the prices are usually a little bit expensive.
Okay,
Secondly,
okay.
we have
Now
hold on
I
a
think
second.
okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to land somewhere, and then you take it from there. We also have the issue of concentrates, where you can buy concentrates and mix it, maybe protein concentrates, and mix it with other energy sources. Yes, that is an area for big farmers, and then you also
Mm.
have mixing your own grown feed with locally available materials. But there's something is missing. Really, something is missing. The truth is, whatever decision you take on nutrition, you have to look at it vis-a-vis genetic performance. That is the truth. Because um, if I ask a farmer, for instance, if I give you a formulation that is cheap, cheap does not mean effective. I
Yeah.
remember the other time you sent me your daily average daily gain. Wonderful performance. I spoke with a farmer a few days ago, and the farmer spends high on his grower feed. High in naira, that's about almost
Mhm.
240 naira per kilo. That's reasonably it's high, and the farmer is getting results. So if you do your mathematics and your animals and you produce a formulation, okay, and the animals are converting it easily, and when you put it side by side together, you see that okay, yeah, you have a tidy profit at the end of the day. It is better. But what is not good, of course, is to cut costs on feeding, and you are hitting 2 kg weekly or 1.5 kg weekly, and then your animals have to spend 16 months before they go to market. So nutrition planning, you have to take it in the context of genetic performance of the animal, in the context of average daily gain, feed conversion capacity of the animal to make a decision. So people want cheap formulation. The truth is, what you are looking for, what should even serve as a foundation for your decision is what will make these animals grow sustainably. You understand? And I think again, we find so many cases where farmers have a lot of inferior breeds. And because of this, they spend a whole lot of money feeding these animals, and these animals there's no corresponding results. So at that point in time, the farmers are getting it right in nutrition, but they have lost it in genetics. So what they need to do, of course, is to, replace the genetics so that they don't just keep, help the slaughter guys, because of course, if you are feeding poor, good and good feed to poor animals, you're just helping the slaughter people, wasting your money. So everything has to be looked and interpreted that way. And that is how I always feel that nutrition is an area that must be placed side by side with genetic performance. I don't know if you want to contribute in this aspect.
We have always had a cry for the farmers to improve the genetics. You see, I think some people see this as a dream. I think people think that when we're talking about genetics, we are just playing. But for serious farmers, I think we need to adjust. That's why I told you, Victor, if we can organize the farmers in Nigeria, if someone is bringing in one or two, these people can be able to bring in, be strategic enough, bring them in, guide them, have them. Let those other people see from them. Breed them, give them the F2s. Let them start with the F2s. Tomorrow, they would want the F1. Let them start with the F3s and they see the performance. They'll realize that even the concentrate is not expensive. But the reason as why they're saying that the concentrates are expensive is because they are feeding the animal and they're seeing that it's not shifting.
Okay.
In the long run, it becomes very expensive for the farmers. I'm going to advise farmers in Nigeria. I'll advise farmers all over Ghana, all over Africa. I always want to concentrate on Africa. But let's put the focus on Nigeria. My brothers and sisters in Nigeria who are into piggery farming, I request you, join funds together. Victor is going to help you and other farmers. Get a group. I think the group is already there. Import. You're going to see a very big difference. You are going to inspire other people in the business. Import. It is expensive, as you can hear, but it is cheap in the long run. You realize that feeding those animals that you are having at the farm is more expensive times 3 than importing the breeds that you can bring in Nigeria. I request and I humbly request farmers that you realize that what we are talking about here is actually real on your farms.
All right. So we have this question here. What are the risks or challenges associated with artificial insemination, such as low conception rates or technical difficulties? How can I ensure the quality and viability of the semen used in artificial insemination?
Understanding the whole concept of artificial insemination. That is what I can say. Because when I say understanding the whole concept of artificial insemination, we are looking at semen handling and following. Because artificial insemination does not end at the pig conceiving. No, it ends at the pig giving birth. But that's why I say we need to have a different teaching on artificial insemination. That's why you realize that even on my pages, um, if I try to change a little bit within 1 day or 2 days, I've come back to artificial insemination, okay, showing the farmers the results. There is no big logic with artificial insemination if you understand the concept of artificial insemination. A farmer has to know their animals. That is the most important thing. You have to know your animal. You have to know the heat cycle of your animal. You have to know how your animal behaves in artificial insemination. That's why they tell you don't rush the animal. Use the first 21 days. When it gets to the heat, how does it react? what are the signs that it does? Because not all these animals show the same signs. However, we have common signs like the standing heat and whatsoever. We have to know. There are some animals that can be on heat for 5 days. There are others that can be on heat for 3 days. There are some animals that can have standing heat for 36 hours. There are those ones that can have standing heat for 24 hours. There are those ones that can have standing heat for 12 hours. We have to know your animal. That's why I'm saying that artificial insemination is a big project. It is a big concept. You just have to understand the concept. That's why we always advise farmers to train artificial insemination. I believe in Nigeria, the artificial insemination technicians, they'll realize that they will close a very big gap between the farmers and the Boer people, understand farmers, because we need to train the farmers. Because you see, with AI, it all starts with the farmer. Before even you blame the technician, it starts with the farmer, because the technician is not always at your farm. It is you, the farmer, who is at the farm. The role of the technician is to come and put the semen. The role of the farmer is to follow up the animal until the standing heat. You know, that is the logic. The logic of the conception.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to share what we are trying to do. Um, of course, I've told you we're working on it in bringing semen into the country. So the very first step, of course, my network is getting really, yeah, it's fluctuating at this point. But the very first thing we are trying to do, of course, is to synchronize the sounds. Did you get that?
Yes.
It's getting really crazy. But well, the very first thing we want to do is to synchronize the sounds to ensure that the heat is fairly predictable. We can predict when the animals will come on heat, so that when the semen delivery will be timed to when these animals are going to come on heat. That is very, very paramount for us to be able to do that with the use of hormones. Secondly, we also want to ensure that we use proper storage for this. I have had very nasty experiences with AI. I mean, I've actually locally gotten the store facility in Nigeria. I've actually ordered for semen. The handler put it in a cooler, put ice blocks, and then just sent it to me, and it failed. On two occasions. So I think semen is a very delicate thing that you want to actually use the best facility to store it. Usually using something that you can regulate temperature, okay, and ensure that it is transported under the best
But
circumstance.
you, but,
Somebody
bec-
transported semen and
but
put
you see,
it
let
on
me
the
tell you
on the
something.
dashboard. Listen,
Yep.
you
Okay.
transport semen and you put it just on where the vehicle, in front of the vehicle, and we had sun during transport, just blazing on it. It was a complete disaster. So for farmers who have made verbal commitment to order semen, we are making sure that we make all the right arrangements to ensure that the semen that comes in continues to remain viable until insemination.
Um, with semen handling, I was handling some farmers in Ghana, but I liked the way the other farmers were able to invest in themselves. Their semen is flown in. When the semen is flown in, this person has he has that small refrigerator. Can I call it a cooler box?
Yeah, color
But
box, yes.
but it goes to, because you see, semen is supposed to be in temperatures of 17 degrees. That is where semen is supposed to be. That cool temperature of 17 degrees. That's where cement is supposed to be. So cement does not need the ice pack. When you put ice on the real cement, cement is going to get shocked. And in the course of getting
Exactly.
shocked, it's going to die.
Exactly.
It's very
Exactly.
delicate. You know, cement does not have to be on the ice pack. You can. That's why some people can put a barrier between the ice and the cement, so that it doesn't touch. It doesn't touch the pack. I mean the cement, the ice pack. Two, um, with the people who are going to do the importation, I believe it's really a very hectic kind of work to do the importation. However, what I'm going to still cry out to the farmers who can be able to afford it. You people, I believe you can bring in the boas in Nigeria and you can start from there. Because it's, importing cement is very expensive. Initially in Uganda, when we used to import cement, you realize that we would spend a minimum of about $100 to import in cement. Just imagine, a pack of cement would cost $100. Now, just imagine people who had over 50,000 were concentrating on importation. How much is that? Over $100 cement, one pack. And some people they're doing two packs in order to ensure actual conceiving. Some people do two packs. So realize that you need $200 to work on the two packs. So, which is going to be quite costly for farmers, but in the long run, that is it. But what I would say, I will advise farmers, because I believe they have the capacity. It's just a spark plug. Let the farmers come together. You can do an importation and you can manage this. If Victor can be able to have that ball at the farm, because even here in Uganda, we have people who have imported those boas from South Africa. They are performing very well. I know of three friends, my farmers, and they're having the two boas each. Everyone is having like two boas at the farm, but they are able to produce the semen. So the logic is that, semen is about handling and maintaining the boas. That's the logic. So that's why importation is going to be costly, but for the improvement, that is what is supposed to be done. But what I'm trying to say, how are we going to cut costs? Because we need to bring in more farmers on board. How do we cut the costs of the importation? Because you realize that some farmers will look at the importation of the semen as more expensive than even the animal is going to use the semen on. But how do we help the farmers acquire that? I believe I believe in the shortest time possible, we need to have people who are supposed to be coming on together, so that at least we can acquire those boas in Nigeria and we can start. Even if we start with 3 boas, it is okay. Let we get a maternal line boa, then we get 2 paternals, then we are good to go. We can outsource them, then we are good to go. But that's all we have to now. That's the campaign we need to chase. We need to have that. I want to commend my friends in Ghana, because we have a company called Piper Pretty. It was able to import in about 40 boas. Can you imagine 40 boas? You get the point? Because he realized that he had a lot of sorry, not 40 boas. He brought in 40 grandparents. Yes, he brought in 40 grandparents, so that he can be able to supply the quality breeds. But then he was able to import in about 3 boas, different boas at the farm. But he's now producing semen for the farmers, and the farmers are enjoying. So I'm realizing that Ghana is going to be on the fast track. People did not know about this, but according to that director, he's telling me that my information has reached far. And so far, right now, in a week, he can have like about 70 to 80 orders, which used not to be the case. Used to have like about 5, 6 orders in a week. Right now, it is about 70 to 80 orders in a week. So I told him, now you realize that now within the coming months, we'll be having like about 100 to 200 orders within like about 2 weeks, which is okay. But how do we help now the farmers in Nigeria to handle that? That's the thing. That should be now the cry. How do we?
All right. Okay. So I think we're coming to the end of this session.
Yeah,
There's actually been an eye opener for
yeah,
some people. But
yes,
I'm going to end this session with this question. We have a
please.
question from Facebook
Yeah,
user on the group. I'm learning a lot of wrong practices. Thanks a lot, guys. If housing management, genetics, and nutrition are put in place in a standard pig farm, what is the expected life weight of a pig at 6 months? Give us a range at least. So the farmer is asking if he is able to acquire the right combination of genetics and with proper housing and has um, a proactive management in place. What is he expecting to get at 6 months? I'll allow you to answer that and then take your closing remarks. You can call it an evening.
With the maternal line, it will be a minimum of about 150, 160 kilos. With the paternal line, I expect it to be around 165 to 170 kilos. If you say you have put all that into consideration. However, because we are looking at 24 weeks. However, I do not. To add on that, if someone is dealing with the porkers, you are not advised to go beyond 20 weeks. If it is at maximum, it's supposed to be 22 weeks. Beyond that, then you are breaking. You are not breaking even. The little profits you'd have gotten out now, you are using it on feeds. So the companies advise, the genetic companies advise that if you're doing the porkers, the maximum the porkers are supposed to be at the farm is supposed to be 22 weeks. And at 22 weeks, you expect a minimum of about 135 to 140 live weight.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
So, I want your closing remark. We've gone through a lot. I know we've dwelt mostly on genetics, which is the right infrastructure for the business. We've dwelt a lot on genetics, and the idea was to talk about breaking even in pig farming, and then we still come down to the issue of having the right combination of genetics on the farm. For nutrition, I've said it. Nutrition is something that involves broader collaboration with the farmer and the nutrition experts. It's not something you sit down and type on your phone and say use this, use that. It's not That's not the right strategy. Management, we spoke a lot about management and how to combine these uh, production variables together to make it work. Thank you for coming. I want to have your closing thoughts.
We need to stock our heads before we stock our feeding exotic breeds or feeding antress genetics on good feeds. You're making the seller rich and you're making the farm poor. If you want to do a profitable piggery business, we need to come together and acquire superior genetics. When we do that, we shall break even in piggery.
All right. Thank you very much, Emergent Farmer. I am
Welcome.
definitely going to have you on this Facebook group again very
Yes.
soon. We can actually expand our discussion. We can have more guests, and I try to evangelize the issue of profitable pig farming. So thank you everyone for those who have asked questions. And those who would stumble on this live recording, you can still drop your questions and we'll try to respond to them. Thank you, everyone, and have a lovely evening.
Have a
Bye.
lovely evening. Bye-bye.